Hello friends, and welcome to my urban garden here on the shores of Lake Michigan. Of course, I am Jamie Wallen. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you are a returning member, it's nice to see you again. So it is shortly after the 4th of July, and I am out here doing a little bit of well-needed maintenance because over the last year or so, starting this spring, I actually started to put some energy into the garden. You know, I went for years without doing a lot of things other than growing out of buckets, but now we've built some stands and we're getting ready to mulch the whole backyard area. We're in the midst of getting rid of all the grass by using cardboard. So it's been a progression, that's for sure, as well as working full-time and doing all of the things that a lot of you see here on the channel. So anyways, today what I'm doing, aside from training my wonderful cucumbers, which the bees are having a field day, pollinate, 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 please, and checking on the tomatoes and deadheading a lot of the petunias and doing all sorts of light maintenance on this beautiful day shortly after the 4th of July. What I'm going to do is I am going to do some basil care. So my basil has gone crazy and it's time for its first harvest. Of course, I'll probably get about 5 or 6 harvests, and in the future I'll actually do a video on how I do my pesto, because my pesto is amazing. A lot of people want my recipe for my pesto, and I will do that in the future. Right now though, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I actually process my basil for the freezer, because throughout the winter here in Indiana and Northwest Indiana, and again we're right on the foot of Lake Michigan, we're in Michigan City, Indiana, we like our veggies in the winter and we want to get something a little bit more than the dried store-bought stuff. So, and you can hear my wonderful girl in the background saying, "Hey, I want in the picture." That is my Great Dane, Tia, and you will all meet her more and more as more videos go on. Nonetheless, so we're going to head over to the basil. I'm going to show you what I have, and I'm going to show you how I like to go ahead and process it. So let's head over. This is the first one that we're going to process here, and you can see it is going crazy. And every once in a while, the last few days when I come in, because we come in through the back, I have to top off the buds on the top to make sure that you know, they don't seed out on us. So let me talk about how I do this. Now, if you're new to basil, and I know some of you are and I know a lot of you aren't, when I go in to cut, I always want to cut down to where 2 leaves come out right, left. I never just want to start hacking away and go deep down. I like to go right there, and then that will start to branch out. So I am going to go through this whole bed right here and our other beds. Again, you can see right here we've got some nice bushing right there, so I know that that's going to branch out for us. And I'm simply going to top some of this wonderful basil.
I've got nothing left, and the moon's in dead, while the sun's sitting on its side. I'm not sure if time could ever cure this mind. As you're fading out of sight, you're just a star among the night.
All right, so we have harvested this bed and we have a nice amount. Now, because of the way that I cut it, what's going to happen now is this is going to bush up twice the amount, which is going to be nice. So again, I'm going to be gathering basil throughout the whole summer season. here in the north. So there we go. I'm going to finish doing the rest of the other beds, and then we'll head over and I'll show you how I process. You know, I have found the older I get, the more I enjoy the tedious work that we normally do. That before I just didn't have the patience for, and now I long for it. I long being out here in the garden, enjoying a wonderful day. It's nice because we've had horribly hot weather, and now we have some really amazing weather. So I am enjoying the few cool days that we get out here with the kids and the plants. So what I'm doing right now is I'm simply stripping my basil. Now, for the tops of my basil, I don't mind a few little tender stems in my basil. It's not going to affect the taste, but when I get to these big stems, I want to make sure to strip my leaves directly off of them. So when I add them to the recipe, I don't get any bitterness. I've got my magical tea all set up. I have fallen in love with a cinnamon tea. It's from a wonderful place called Planter's Spice Company in Kansas City. And I can't even say whether it's Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri. Is it Missouri? Yeah. So it is Missouri, and I've been going there for over 40 years. It's an old hardware store. And in the back, it's all this bulk spices and teas and all sorts of mixes and wonderful things. So it's absolutely incredible. Anyways, so this is cinnamon and orange, which is amazing. And I always add a little bit of honey on a crazy day, and some cinnamon imperials when it first comes out of the kettle and it's nice and hot. That way they melt. They give it a little bit of an extra kick. I used to have Harney and Sons, and I would order that from England. But now I've been turned on to this because I went to the spice company, which I usually do about once a year in Kansas City. Kansas City, yeah. And see, I never know. I just know Kansas City, Kansas, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri, if you want to give it a shot. I tell you what, you won't be sorry. They also have blackberry and peach and all that wonderful stuff. Not a plug, but I'm going to tell you, they have amazing stuff. Not a sponsor, that's right, unless they're interested. I work for tea. And it's wonderful on ice on a refreshing day like today. You can hear we have a few people that are firing off their last fireworks for the season. Thank goodness.
July 6th.
Yeah, it's July 6th right now. I've been giving the dogs some downers in the evening to keep them at peace. And I try not to be angry about it because it's a wonderful thing, people celebrating, kids getting excited, making lots of noise as they do. But it still makes me crazy, I hate to say it. Not so much on my behalf as much as the animals and the veterans. Well, and the weeks before and the weeks after, rather than just a nice 3-day window where everybody's doing it. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to strip all of these, and then we're going to process them, and I'm going to show you how I like to store them to save some room, rather than the traditional way that I used to do it when I did the freezers. So I've rinsed my basil. And now what I'm going to do in my empty bowl, I love these towels. A wonderful friend of mine, you can see from the top down there, is a weaver and makes these incredible towels for the kitchen. I like to use them for my sourdough bread and also for things like this. They're so amazing. So I got some towels laying there. I'm going to go ahead. I've rinsed this off. They're still a little bit wet. This is about 1/5 of what I have and what I'll be processing today. Hey, hey Tia. Tia's here smelling the basil. Okay, so now I am simply just going to pat it. Not going to squeeze it too much, but just kind of pat it a little bit. Grab my handy dandy spinner. I don't want to put too much in there. Sorry for the jiggling camera, if it's jiggling, like myself. I want to get as much moisture out of there as I can. What? Sounds like a plane, doesn't it? Yeah. Yay! All right. And now you can see it's spun and it's nice and the moisture is perfect. In other words, not much. And I'll continue spinning this batch to get this done.
I've got nothing left, and the moon's in dead. While the sun's sitting on its side.
What? You're okay. You're all
I'm not
right.
sure if time could ever cure this mind. As you're fading out of sight, you're just a star among the night.
Tia Maria.
Can I keep on when no one sings his song? And I miss almost every line. Just trying to be
All right, you guys, go on. Shoo, shoo, scram. All right, everybody. So next step, of course, I have spun my basil. So now I'm simply gonna toss it in the food processor. That is some amazing basil. And I have to tell you, it's a combination of a ton of different types of basil. I think I had about 5 different varieties. I haven't done any of the purple varieties, so I'm just gonna fill that up. Not quite to the top, I'm just gonna take it about to there, about to the top of the cutters. I've tried it with my Vitamix, but it tends to work better with a food processor like this. There we go. Close that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply do a little bit of spin. Okay, so it is chopping now. And I like it to get a little chop. Okay, so now that's nice. That's chopped up. And what I'm going to do is I like to add just a little bit of olive oil. Not a lot. That was about 3 or 4 tablespoons. And that's it. Move this out of the way. Bring in the yum yums. Take off my lid. Take off my cutter. Use my spoon. Again, don't be shocked after looking at how full that bowl was as to how much you actually have. Remember, a little goes a long way. So I'm going to continue processing this until it's completely done. Okay, so I've processed a bunch and we have a nice selection already in the freezer, so I'm finishing up here. So let me show you how and why I do it the way that I do it as far as for our freezer. Now I know a lot of people would go ahead with the basil mix and they would want to put it in ice cube trays. I know that that's been a very popular way to store any type of herbs or spices. But the reason I don't like to do that is because the ice cube trays, when you use that and you freeze it and then you put it in the freezer bags, what happens is there's a lot of air in there. You can't close it properly. And so it ends up lasting probably half the life of the way that I'm going to do it now. So that's why I tend to do it the way that I do it. So I have freezer bags already. No need for ice cube trays. I've got them labeled, dated, month, year. And of course I have my mix here, what's left of it. I actually had almost a full bowl of this that we've already processed. I have my magic cup that I use to measure things out for the freezer. It's actually a quart cup that I've had for 40 years. I think it belonged to my mom. For some reason it just kind of has been special and been in my kitchen for a long time. So I'm going to take my baggie, and a quart-sized baggie fits perfect right around the mouth, and it leaves a nice gap when I'm pouring juice or something in freezing, or sauce, or my basil or pesto or anything else like that. So I'm going to take it and I'm simply going to spoon however much I want in each of my bags, and on this one I think I'm going to do these. This is a pretty big spoon, so I'm going to do a nice amount. As you can see, it looks like about a pint, and for me that's kind of nice. I'm just going to set that aside, and I'm going to continue, grab another bag, fill her up until all of the goodness in the bowl is gone. None for you. No, my dear. Now, one of the things that I didn't mention is that about every third food processor batch that I do, I don't add any olive oil as I fill my bowl and work through the all of the basil. And again, you don't want to have a ton of olive oil. You just want enough to kind of bind it together. And most of the time, anything that I'm going to be putting this basil in anyways would take olive oil. Do you need to use olive oil? No. If you want to use a little bit of water, you could do that. If you wanted to use a little lemon juice or lime juice, you could do that. I've done both of those things. Okay. There we go. Yum. All right. So out of that last bit, I got 3 more. So again, I have my baggie. I'm going to bounce it on the table a little bit. I'm not going to seal it yet. I'm actually going to kind of close it so all the air is out. Lay it down. Kind of roll it that way. Get all that air out. And then close most of it. Leave a little bit. And now I can mash it so it's flat. Get all the air out, and now I can seal it proper. So now what I have is a wonderful flat bag of basil that when it's done, I can stack them all on top of each other. In the freezer, it's going to take a lot less space than if you were going to use the ice cube version of this. And it's going to give you basil for a long time. I still have basil from last year. Actually, I still have pesto from the last few years because I love my pesto and I make so much. I tend to go crazy with the basil planting. Basil, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers. Okay, so again, we're going to flatten that out. Get all the air out. Again, we've got a nice flat bag. Again, what a beautiful day today. And I have to tell you, it's been so nice spending time with everybody here on YouTube, our community. It's amazing. We have a lot of wonderful ideas coming down the pike to film. Some of my V8 tomato juice that I like to make and do daily. different ways in which I process tomatoes, fried green tomatoes, sauces. And I have some friends that do some wonderful things like some Caesar salads. The other thing I love about this when I do it like this is that when I want it, I don't always want a whole bag. Sometimes I just want a little bit to throw into something, so I can open up the bag, break a piece off, put it in whatever recipe I'm using, and then get the air out, reseal it, and put it back in the freezer. I think you're going to enjoy spending some time here at the creative cocoon here that we have going on, not only for food or garden, but for some of the wonderful art forms that I like to work on and share with all of my wonderful friends out there, and just spend some time together. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you are processing and harvesting your own wonderful garden, whether it's urban or out in the country, enjoy the process. And as always, take care of yourself and take care of each other. We'll see you all down the road. Goodbye.